now we're back. Welcome to the latest Amari Music Talk. Today, proud to have one of my best friends, best former bandmate on the show with us. This is the drummer, percussionist, producer, artist extraordinaire, Mr. PC Munoz. Welcome back.
What's happening? Nice to see you again.
Yeah, it's always fun having you on the show because we always find, like, in addition to Prince stuff, we always find like stuff that we've always been wanting to talk about but never got a chance to talk about. So
yeah.
So
today today we have something that we both knew we would get to at some point. And it's, I guess, it's always nice to be on your show because then I get to see an old friend and we just lock right into it. Like we did 35 years ago.
Yeah,
and,
lot of years.
A lot of years.
Lot of years. Cool. Yeah, I miss California. Hopefully get to go back one day.
Yeah, it's always good to see you when you're here. Last time you here was what, in the 2013?
2013, yeah. You did the it was the concert you were doing, the Bob Dylan and Prince. Yeah, mashed up.
Positively Alphabet Street.
Yes. Yep. What do you call it? The other Minnesota Twins.
Yeah, the other That was a fun show.
Yeah, it was. I told you, I say, if you ever do that again, like I said, I'd be happy to be in the back with a tambourine.
That's cool. That's a fun one. It's fun to just get in there and imagine the Minnesota Twins doing stuff.
Yeah.
People it took people a second and they heard it, like they hear When Doves, because we did When Doves Cry and Tangled Up in Blue. It's like you hear this boom, cat, boom, cat, boom, boom, cat, boom. Then it's like early one morning the sun was shining. People are like, what? It's very jarring.
Yes. I know. When you announced that, I was like, okay, I got to go see that. So I went out of my way to go make that trip. That was a good trip.
Cool. It was cool to see you, and Carolyn came out for that too.
Right? Yeah, Carolyn Folk. Yeah,
that was
which
cool.
Folks out there, check out her music as well. It's either under her name, Carolyn Folk, or her code name, Sear9. So check it out.
Electronic music pioneer, really.
Yeah. And influence. We had done some stuff. Actually, she still got the tapes for it. But but we've done lots of stuff together too. Music, and some of it surfaced on Funky Poetic Bootlegs. So
nice.
Yeah. But today we're not talking about our stuff. We're going to talk about the man, Paul McCartney.
Yes.
Sir Paul McCartney.
Sir Paul McCartney.
Yeah. And I don't know, I'm a little backwards today, it looks like. So I have to see this in post. Yeah.
You're coming out forward to me.
Oh, okay. Cool. So I'm in a weird psychedelic place here. Everything is backwards on my screen, but cool. I'm looking normal.
Yeah, you look totally normal here.
All right, cool. So now, Pipes of Peace by Sir Paul McCartney was released on October 31st of 1983. This was a follow-up to Tug of War.
Wow.
Another good.
So almost 40 years.
Yeah. It is 40. Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday it'll be 40 years. Wow, that's really great timing that we did this.
A lot of years. Yeah. For me, I don't know if I want to say, I guess, kind of give a little backstory, because I know followers of this show, they used to be talking about Prince or funk. I do reference the Beatles a lot on a lot of episodes. But I guess, to start off, at 10 was when I became a Beatles fan, through the rock and roll compilation. I saw that commercial, had heard of the Beatles before, had seen Yellow Submarine, but didn't quite make a huge connection. But I don't know what it was about that commercial for that compilation. I was like, I gotta have that. For some reason, I gotta have it. So ended up eventually getting it. From there, I got the Red album, and then that kind of helped me inform, kind of like, okay, now it's clicking what the Beatles were. And through reading different books about them, so I started getting deeper and deeper. And of course, in the 70s, Paul McCartney was still kind of going strong. Lennon had kind of, he retired. Ringo was still doing stuff. George had stuff, but at that time, it didn't seem like it was as big as what, Paul and Ringo were doing at that time. So I started, let's see, actually, this was the first Paul McCartney thing I got.
That's a great collection too.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, he's put out several more comprehensive ones since, but to me, that one was, this is still my favorite one.
It's a really great listen.
Yeah.
Front to back, that collection.
Yeah. And yeah, so then you get to Back to the Egg. That's my other favorite Wings album. This is the first post Wings album, McCartney 2. That's another favorite of mine. So now we get into this area where John Lennon's getting ready to comes back, but then, he's assassinated. And I guess, you have Paul that was working on something at the time, but then dealing with all the grief. But out of that, he's gotten, Ringo, Stevie Wonder, later on Michael Jackson, Stanley Clarke, Steve Gadd, and was working on the tracks that eventually became Tug of War and Pipes of Peace. So I loved Tug of War. That was to me probably my favorite between these two, but I don't know. I mean, I bought it, I guess, Say was the leadoff single, right?
Yeah.
To that with Michael Jackson.
With Michael Jackson.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, I bought this on the strength of that. And I'm thinking like, well, this is going to be a sequel to Tug of War. But it's a quirky album. It's one that's really grown more over the years as a record. I enjoy listening to it. I listened to the streaming version, the remastered version of it, and there are nuances that I enjoy on it. The sound of it. It's interesting listening to the tracks now. One I keep going back to is Average Person, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But first I want to get, what your memories of the album were and, where you were at that time. And
yeah. So my mom was a big Wings fan. So she had that album, that Wings Greatest.
Okay.
She had it like pretty early on, probably right when it came out. And so I had listened to that record quite a bit. And just over the years, I mean, just because of my particular Gen X age, I was always more of a Paul McCartney fan than Beatles fan. So like I dislike the Beatles and don't like them. But as you know, I am a huge Mac fan. And I enjoy trolling Beatles fans, but when they have their conversation, this is the archetypal thing I talk about. They have their fights. Revolver or Rubber Soul? I always say Red Rose Speedway. I'll take Red Rose Speedway over both Rubber Soul and Revolver. And Ram.
Now wait a minute.
Yeah, no. Well, everybody's offended. I offend everybody with this. But it's true. If you were to put those in a stack and go, which one do you want to go listen to? I would pick Red Rose Speedway and Ram out of any of those, just because that's how big a fan I am of this guy, who I think is the greatest pop songwriter of all time. I do think that.
Oh yeah. There's no doubt about that.
There's no doubt about that. Just he is the GOAT in terms of pop songwriting. And so I give him but so yeah, I agree with you. I also loved Tug of War. It was it's big. It was, you could see even from the visuals where he's holding that headphone, he's going through what he's going through with John's death, and he's surrounding himself with people that give him comfort. So there's George Martin producing, and there's Ringo's playing on it, and he's writing really beautiful pieces. The box set for Tug of War is also really fantastic, hearing the different versions.
Okay.
I love Wanderlust, probably one of my favorite songs of his.
Yeah.
I love speaking of funk, What's That You're Doing?
Yeah.
Was just it's really good. Um, just him and Stevie just showing off what badasses they are for 4.5 minutes, and it's
Yeah.
yeah, just funky and good, and just them being
Yeah.
themselves, and it's so great. So I had excuse me, I had high hopes for Tug of War as well, and then Pepsi Peace came out, and I liked Say Say Say. I thought it was cool that
Yeah.
him and Michael were doing stuff again. But I think my initial reaction was underwhelmed, and I was
Mm.
like, yeah, after the how much I liked Tug of War.
Tug of War. Yeah.
But then when he started doing these archive releases, like this one, which is currently on print, but has um, Twice in a Lifetime, We All Stand Together, and Simple as That as extra tracks. Um, I got this one, and when I heard that again, and then I heard, there's certain things in there that I was like, man, I think I didn't give this its proper listen.
Mm.
Um, and I think I may have thought the title was corny. I don't remember. I was a teenager, so.
Yeah.
um,
Same.
yeah, so it was like, all right. But listening to it now as an adult, I really appreciate it,
Yeah.
and getting this deluxe box set where there's this is the little fold thing you get. So you get the remastered album. The bonus audio is it's not as extensive as like some of the other Macca box sets, but there's demos of Average Person. Maybe that's for you. The demo of Average Person, and Ode to a Koala Bear, Twice in a Lifetime, Christian Bop, along with some other demos. And this 2015 remix of Say Say Say, which is
Mhm.
great. It's
Yeah.
really great.
Yeah. I've heard on streaming. I've heard that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, and it just reminds you, like, uh, I think I took Say 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 for granted because, it was such a big hit, and it was Michael, and just these giants doing their thing, and the video was so ubiquitous. But
Mm.
listening now, it's a really cool song, and it sounds really good,
Yeah.
and it's been
Yeah.
for me a joy to revisit this album.
Yeah. I know with Say Say Say, I think it's his musicians on that one. I think there's
Yeah,
David Williams. I think Lewis Johnson's on bass
yeah, I think so.
on
I
that
read
one.
there was something that happened in that session where they redid something. I
Yes, I
remember
don't think
reading
they did
about
like the
that.
maybe the overdubs. They did maybe an early version
Yeah.
because they were in was I know most of those sessions with Tug of War and Pipes of Peace, those were done in the Caribbean at George Martin studio. But I think
Right.
there was
Yeah,
some
yeah.
stuff done in England as well. So I don't
Yeah.
know if they did that early version.
Yeah, I can't remember the
Yeah.
details. I mean, I think it's in these this booklet that comes with this set, but they talked a little bit about having this particular early version and then redoing some stuff with session folks. Like, I can't remember why or what the choice was to do it, if it had to do with a part or a recording quality or
Mhm.
something. But I remember reading some kind of story about that, specifically around certain tracks on here. Um, and then also that there's like, you forget that Paul writes these kind of R&B ballads, like My Love, and then So Bad is a really cool
Yeah.
one. It sounds really cool when you hear it now. um, and that little funky bass line in that middle of Pipes of Peace is still cool. Which is like, I was blasting that in the car the other day. I was listening to the record to get ready for our talk, and I was like, "Oh, this sounds cool." There's these little, like, he's just so good at these little grooves,
Yeah.
and keeping it rhythmic, which is I think one of the things, as a drummer, I like about his songwriters. It's like really strong melodically, but he doesn't skip on the rhythm. He makes sure that there's a lot of cool rhythmic stuff happening in his things, and just natural form. I think he likes it. I saw him talking about drumming. Did you see this little clip where he was talking about? They said, "Oh, you play drums?" And he was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Yeah." I think somebody was showing him a Buddy Rich thing. He's like, "Yeah, that's cool." He goes, "Not my favorite kind of thing. And he said, my favorite kind of thing is," and he literally like mouth sung a Paul McCartney beat. He goes, "I like," and I was like, "Yeah, that is what he likes." Because he likes that kind of just this like fat back kind of beat, and to me that's very Paul McCartney, to just have that boom. How many of his songs have that, from Obla Di Obla to bogey music, it's like that. There's a lot of his songs have some version of that kind of beat,
Let's see. Yeah, Nobody Knows.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you said maybe it started with Obla Di Obla Da, and then just kind of branched off. I know a lot of I guess there's more ska influence with that, and I know all the Beatles enjoyed like ska and reggae.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah, and they're always defaulted to that on some level.
And New Orleans stuff.
Yeah.
It's just a nice like fat back, and just slap, boom, boom, boom. Even coming up in a faster tempo is kind of like boom,
right.
Just a little faster.
Yeah. Well, that was I don't know. He said it was definitely pre-Prince. So I think he thought I think maybe the influence was more like Nile Rodgers and Bernard.
Of coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here, this is funny. So yeah, 1980, right? It's like, what was that? I know some people were saying that's a sort of New York funk thing, like Talking Heads and Nile, and like what that sort of. So yeah, it could be like a chic thing, but I have to say, like when I hear "Let's Work," I feel like Prince was listening to Coming Up.
Oh, I'll go you one better. Rick James, Give It to Me. The horn riff.
That's funny. Yeah, made both those guys, for listening to Paul McCartney and take it from that. But to me, that's still a really cool one too.
Yeah.
But I remember when we talked about because I've been on your show a few times now, and you were like, "Hey, what are we going to talk about? The Diamonds and Pearls box set. What else is coming?" And we were like, we landed on this, I think, because we haven't done this on the show yet. Talked about our own sort of Macca fanaticism, and this is an opportunity to sort of full on go there.
Yeah. do the Macca. Yeah, like you said, it was like underwhelming in comparison to Tug of War.
Yeah.
But like you said, I guess
time.
At that time, because I'm so much like, I know I was 17 at the time, and it's just so much, just high school, just dealing with that in general. Then there was sort of this thing where the Prince and the Time and Vanity Six, that was kind of taking over as far as like my musical interests.
Yeah.
I think some of the Solar records, they were kind of on their last great album.
The last sputtering of Solar. Yeah.
Right. And, and then by this point, I've had, probably the Beatles albums that counted, so by then, like, Revolver. I got that when I was 12. And then like Beatles for Sale was next. And then from there, I think Sergeant Pepper, Magical Mystery Tour, Abbey Road, and Let It Be. So I kind of, with the exception of the White Album, the Beatles were complete. Like I said, everybody's trying to figure out this void now that, John Lennon's no longer around. So there's no more talk of, will they get back together?
Yeah.
And then, so by the time you get to 83, Ringo had kind of fallen off, no more hits. George did have All Those Years Ago, but then Gone Tropo had come out, and then that sort of tanked. So again, it was just Macca left with the hits. And like I said, coming off a big album like Tug of War, and like you said, having Stevie Wonder's presence with What's That You Doing, Take It Away, kind of has that little reggae feel to it. Let's see, what else was... Oh God, there was so many other tracks on that one. But by the time you get Carl Perkins, get it, yeah. But when you get to this one, it seems so subdued. But if you're looking at it through that sort of teenage where, what's the next big hit? What's the next big thing? It falls flat. But then as you get older, your tastes change or they mature, get into different styles of music. In our case, being musicians, we kind of listen to it with a different set of ears. Yeah. And like I said, just going back to playing this and then playing the remastered version on streaming. I don't know. I mean, it's an album. It might work better today than it would have in 83. I think,
possibly. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, I know the Pipes of Peace. I remember hearing it when I first got the album. Like you said, again, being underwhelmed by it. Yeah. But then I remember when the video came out, and I don't know if I just ended up being one of those people where if I see the video, it makes it better.
Yeah, me, that definitely, I think that affected a lot of us that way,
Yeah. But I mean, I still didn't think like, oh, this is a great groove or a big major dance hit, but I appreciated the song better with the context of the music video. And then, of course, like I said, Say was the obvious one. Even before the video, I liked that song because I think that one, I liked it a lot better than The Girl Is Mine. Because I'm one of those. I didn't like.
Yeah.
Now we're not going to fight about this, I'm a lover, not a fighter. I don't believe it. My.
I don't believe that.
But yeah, I didn't like Thriller when it came out. I mean, I did like Billie Jean right off. Want to Be Starting Something I thought was nice, but it was just something that was off about that album. But then every new music video that came out, I think that was the thing from my point of view where that's what made Thriller the legend that it became.
And that's a really good point. That's a really good point. I think, obviously the videos are promotional tools. So we were teenagers, so it worked.
Yeah, and it knew, yeah.
But it's funny that you mentioned that because I was, again, I enjoy trolling people with different opinions. And when people talk about Michael, I always say, I think there's a lot of people who prefer Off the Wall to Thriller aesthetically, right? But I always go Triumph.
Hey, well, it's just kind of staying on Michael for just a quick minute, but it's this thing because, like I said, you and we're at that age where there was the Jackson 5, and that was something new. You didn't have young Black artists that were on that level. You know, of course you had like the Temptations, you know, Stylistics. You had groups, but they were like, you know, at that age, millions of years older than us.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know, they were still creating great music. And I mean, yeah, you had Stevie Wonder, he was doing great music too. But for somebody that was kind of closer, or as close as possible to our age, that we could look up to.
Yeah.
And you know, they're great singers. You know, I always tell people, go find the Jackson 5 live at the Forum and listen to that. Or if you can find that footage of that going back to Indiana special, you know, they have to learn what the Funk Brothers put down, or whatever the LA studio musicians were putting down, and they had to do that on stage. You know, so their instruments were plugged in and their microphones were on.
Yeah.
And you know, we came up through that. And even before Off the Wall, I know we considered Michael Jackson, the Jackson 5, probably already the biggest entertainers on the planet. So when you get to a Thriller, then there are these subsequent generations that's all they know. It's like Thriller and then everything after Thriller. And you know, I kind of don't like how everything before that is being kind of treated so shabbily now, you know, where like Destiny should have a deluxe box set edition. Triumph should have some kind of deluxe release of some sort. You know, the first two Epic records produced by Gamble and Huff, you know, those should get more attention. Now, I'm glad there are people that discover like old clips of like that mid 70s Jackson 5. They discover that on YouTube and some of those TV appearances. So there is some of that, but I think in the eyes of the estate or the eyes of certain fans, like I said, they just see Thriller and then everything after Thriller. But there's a whole history before
There's
that.
a big history, and for I think because the the Jacksons, those three records, well, I mean, four records. Three. I'm thinking specifically Destiny, Triumph, and Victory. Right there, those two. One of those is post Thriller, but the first two that you mentioned, Destiny and Triumph, get really short shrifted. Right? They get they don't people don't talk about them. It's you know it's R&B fans our age who know that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's not that many people. It's not like, you know, the generation up from, like, boomers don't really know that record. Millennials definitely don't know that record. So it's a sort of like this little secret time pocket of R&B before, like, pre-Thriller and after, because there's definitely in pop music, there's a pre-Thriller and post-Thriller.
Post-Thriller, yeah.
And stuff like Triumph, which to me, I probably still listen to Triumph more than I do both Off the Wall and Thriller, just on a practical thing. In fact, I never listened to Thriller. It's not like I don't like it. It's just it was so ubiquitous at the time. It's one of those ones where it's like I'm happy to hear Billie Jean when it comes on, but I don't like look for it and put it on. You know?
Yeah, to me that was the best song on it. Back, like I said, when I first got it. And then too, I think a lot of it too was coming off of I just got Prince's 1999, but that's a whole another story. But yeah, I thought only good thing on that was Billie Jean and Lady in My Life. I thought those were the two best things that were on it. But like I said, I think with the music videos and then the hype and the mania around it, I appreciated Rob Temperton, great songwriter. But to me, I thought like on first listen, Want to Be Starting Something, rehash of Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. Baby Be Mine, rehash of Rock With You. It even starts with the same opening drum riff. You know, so I just thought like, oh no. But like I said, I think the videos were the MVP of that project. And just taking it to taking videos to the next level, just using that album as the means to do it. So, but
totally agree. And and to connect that the way you were doing earlier, I think the Say video and the Pipes of Peace video, which is based on that I get that BBC doc about putting down your arms during war and playing sports together. But the Say video was huge because it was like it was bringing Paul McCartney into this video age, and not that he was any stranger to video media.
One of the innovators, yeah.
Yeah, he had already been doing stuff, but to the pop audience, or the younger pop audience, like kids that were coming up that knew who he was, knew who the Beatles were, but he was right in the center of it with the biggest pop star at the time.
Yeah,
just fooling around doing, as well, like traveling salesman sort of stuff, right?
Kind of like the Bing Crosby and Bob Hope type.
Yeah,
adventures.
Sort of hucksters, kind of.
Yeah,
right, like snake oil type people.
Salesmen, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like they might be selling stuff that doesn't work at all, but it's funny, and there's they look really good in it. They're having fun, and it's a cool song, and especially I think I mentioned it earlier. Back then, I thought a solid song. Listening to it now, especially that 12-inch, I'm like, this was a great pop song. It was in a really cool, like they both singing really did it great on this song.
Yeah, like I said, I definitely prefer this over "The Girl Is Mine." And like I said,
let me just say, I second that.
Yeah. Sorry all you Thriller fans out there, but
yeah, this we didn't mean for this to become a Thriller bashing session. All respect to Q.
That's right. Send your cards and letters, folks, too. But yeah, I mean, I guess it stands out from the rest of the album, and I think again it's because it's Mike's musicians on it. I mean, they're playing great on it, but it sounds like that should have been on Thriller, and maybe "The Girl Is Mine" should have been on Pipes of Peace.
Oh, right.
Yeah. But then I guess Pipes of Peace probably wouldn't have had a chance on the charts without Say being the lead off hit for that. Because I mean, yeah, it gets so compared to his previous albums, it is so mellow for like the first side.
It's super mellow.
Outside of with Say being like the strongest, fast number that's on it. Then you go from that to The Other Me, and then Keep Undercover.
Yeah. And it's so bad.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to that one in a second though. But The Other Me and Keep Undercover, I struggled with those for so long. I mean, they're nice, they're well written. I like the musicians playing on it, but like I said, I guess after you listen to it, Back to the Egg, or after you listen to McCartney 2, or even London Town, you listen to those, and then you kind of get to those two tracks, and then it's kind of like, okay, yeah, no, it's McCartney being McCartney, but where's the rest of this album gonna go? After that,
yeah, then I had the same reaction. I actually like The Other Me, because I like that little boom, 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 boom. I like the little rhythm on it. But yeah, it's a little, considering like the heft of the emotional heft of Tug of War, and how funky things were. Like, what's that you're doing on it? This felt a little fluffy, I think, as a young person. I thought, almost like the tail end of like 70s soft rock.
Yeah,
it almost felt like that. And so I was like, which I like, nostalgically, especially. I enjoy listening to like England Dan and Little River Band and stuff like that. Because those just bring back 70s memories.
The yacht rock and everything. It's like I'm finding I'm appreciating it more now than then. I mean, and there was a lot of stuff I enjoyed, later era Doobie Brothers, things like that. I did like Christopher Cross. The only thing that here, even on I think black radio for some reason. Sailing just got played so much that I just
So
got
much.
tired of. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It
it
was
kind of
just,
frowned me on the rest of his songs, but I do like a lot of
yeah.
his other songs better. Like the Running Like the Wind, and of course,
Yeah.
Arthur's theme. I like,
He had cool, really beautiful voice and
yeah,
cool songs, but he was overexposed for sure.
yeah,
And it's kind of like the biz kind of did him in because it wasn't his fault that
yeah.
they pushed him, and it was so ubiquitous you could not escape Sailing. There's no way you could have been
That's what
alive
I
at
said.
that time.
It was on black
Yeah,
radio. It was like,
yeah. It was just saturated with his stuff,
yeah,
and and there's cool things, but there's a lot of that stuff that I like. So, but I think during the 80s there, we were young, we were teenagers, we are looking for the edgiest stuff.
yeah,
um and so you're looking for like who's pushing the envelope, especially as musicians, who's in pop music, who's pushing the envelope, who's doing risky, interesting things. Prince was, top number one there.
right.
um and stuff like this would definitely felt much more safe.
Hmm.
Even though but the thing about Mac is, he can go there. He can
Yeah,
do really
he
edgy if he
can rock.
wanted
Yeah,
to, and he can do anything. So it's like when he does something like this, you go, okay, I wonder what this is about. Is he just settling himself after like the heft of Tug of War?
mm,
And as a teenager, you're judging and you're going, oh, this is weak, or this isn't as good. But again, as we both have agreed on, like listening to it as older men, I think
mm,
it's a great listen. Like I had it in the car for a week straight and was really appreciating the whole thing. And
yeah.
going, I like this album. I did it dirty in the 80s because I bought the cassette and sold it,
Wow. Yeah.
and then I went and got the vinyl later. And I had the say 45. Um but I definitely did it dirty back then. I didn't give it its proper attention or assessment. So
Yeah.
it takes years to get it right.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, like I said, listening to the remastered version on streaming, I think it does open, the range in the remaster. You get to appreciate the composition more
Yeah,
in that. Yeah, like you said, like being 17, even to this day, me, just as a guitar player, I just want to do Nile Rodgers and Jimmy Nolan all day, every day. Every record I want to go, chicka 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 chicka
yeah,
chicka chicka. I want to do that. But like I said, there's other things to composing. There's other styles of music
yeah.
that exist and that are just, as meaningful, as just holding the groove all day long with that. And like I said, when I remember listening to like the other Me and Keep Undercover, like I said, I've struggled with I remember being 17 and really like, okay, I really want to like this, but
Hmm.
what is this doing? Where is it going? But now I'm like, I appreciate it. Like, oh, this is a nice composition. Now, is it, a hit single? No, but as a couple of songs on an album, they definitely belong on that album. It
It's
works as part of the overall concept of the album.
it's
And
well
then,
conceived, and when you think about
yeah,
it, and I think if people can take away anything from our convo, I think it's, if you like us are Paul McCartney fans and you also did not were not impressed by this album, it's totally worth it to do a revisit with these
yeah,
remastered, with these expanded versions, because I think you'll hear it in a different way, and it's exciting. It's always exciting to revisit some records. Sometimes it's the other way, right? Sometimes it's like, oh, this was the jam, and then you turn it on and you go, I liked this. Like I was super into this.
like,
You
wow.
know, or and sometimes it's nice to go to be re-surprised. Like so there was somebody just randomly. I don't know if I can't remember if we talked about this already, but somebody randomly reminded me about Xavier.
Oh,
Or Xavier. And I was like, babe, get your heart out, babe. I was like, man, I forgot about those dudes. Like I completely forgot. Black hair metal dudes, right?
yeah.
So it's like, yeah, but the songs were pretty cool. Like and then he was playing that Simmons set, and that one dude was shredding, and it was like, I forgot about them guys. I had the album. I had the album and the
I think
cassette.
I think you used to tell me about it. I think I was like, what the?
Yeah, I think you were like, nah, I don't know about that. But I enjoyed them. I enjoyed them. It was like somebody sent me the video and said, hey, just that, just I was like, what is this? Click. And I was like, boom, like just completely forgot about them.
Well,
I hope they're doing well.
The thing about, you, me, Walter, and Mark, like I said, I wish we had more time, whether it was hanging out or if we could have gotten all of us in the same room just to jam for a few minutes or something. But that was the great thing about it, was that there were all these different things, like me and Walter, we'd always gravitate towards different B-sides to different things, not just the Prince stuff.
Yeah.
He would bring, something to like, oh God, I'm trying to think. Like there was this band called Wawa Nee, and they had like a minor hit in the 80s called Sugar Free. And I mean, we thought that was, was like,
that sounds perfect.
It has that, because I mean, it's like this white band. They're not doing heavy rock. They're kind of doing more pop, but it had like a little funky edge to it. And like I said, the hit, my loving me with sugar free.
You fell for it.
We drank the Kool-Aid on that. That was one that he brought. But yeah, I mean, that was the beautiful thing, where it was like all that cultural exchange, and then, like we're discussing Pipes of Peace now, it's still part of that, where it's like, okay, it's not just me listening to it, there's, people that, I respect and care about, and it's like, oh, they're into it too, and it's like, oh, great, yeah. And then we can figure out, like, between the two of us or the four of us, like, oh, this is why we like that.
Mm-hmm. And do these sort of dissections where we use the record as a vehicle to examine our own journey, because that it's an interesting thing we've done, because in the past we've talked about things we've loved from the beginning, or we're just getting into like the spectacle of a big box set or something. But just to revisit a record that I didn't know that you had the same kind of lukewarm reaction at first that I did. But never count Macca out. He was right. He was right then, and we were wrong, and now we're able to see it, which is again why I'll pick Red Rose Speedway and Ram over Revolver and Rubber Soul anytime.
Wait a minute.
yeah. That's what everybody says.
Well, Rubber Soul.
Wait a second, please. Wait a second.
Well, not Rubber Soul, but Revolver. That was, like I said, I had the Red album, so that kind of gave me, like, that helped me figure out exactly who those guys were. Because with the rock and roll, it was like, okay, well, they make good rock and roll, but that with all of the songs being Lennon McCartney songs, then that helped me understand them more, maybe want to go read about them more. And then after reading about them, then like Revolver was, and luckily it was a UK version of it. And that really, like, okay, this is the first real Beatles album I own. And then going, taking an even deeper dive. And, now here it is, nearly 50 years later.
Nearly, yeah.
And now, so we can listen to something like Pipes of Peace and we can sit and we can talk about it and enjoy
With this. Yes, and I'm sorry, but I have to run. But
Okay.
I want to thank you for having me again. This is the deluxe box set that I just really appreciate. And I'm sorry that I have to
We should
cut
do.
this one off.
Oh, no
We'll,
problem. We should do a part two
yeah, we could do
because we
part two,
still
maybe
have to get.
another Maca centered one. Just kind of
Oh, well,
finish
we can
it up.
finish this one.
Okay, that
Finish
sounds
this.
good.
Okay, well, let's see. Let's do this before we let you go. Just quick thought. So bad. I liked the song when I first heard it, but the video, just seeing Ringo there with
Oh yeah, yeah.
that, that elevated the ballad for me. Average person. I hear it now. I hear madness. Don't watch that.
Ah,
Watch this.
okay.
This is even used.
I will check for that. I did not make
Yeah,
that connection.
yeah. Very ska. Yeah, very ska. But yeah,
That's good. I like that. I like that hearing.
so
I'm gonna throw that in later today, and with that in mind.
yeah. But yeah, so quick thoughts, and then we'll let you make your next appearance.
Right on. Yes, I'm just glad that we were able to talk about it because I don't get other than when I'm trolling my Beatles fans friends, I don't get too much of a chance to just sit around singing the praises of Paul McCartney enough. So, um, so it was really fun to get into this,
Yes.
and especially to revisit this record that I think I kind of maligned as a teenager and now as an adult find to be really compelling
Yeah.
and good.
Yep. And great band, like I say,
Yeah.
Stanley Clark.
Always.
Stanley Clark, Steve Gadd, Eric Stewart.
Yeah, there's just great
And Steve
musicians
Gadd.
on it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it
And I like it.
sounds really good.
Yeah. And Stanley Clark's contribution. He's actually on this Keep Undercover, I think. And then Hey Hey.
Hey, it was like an instrumental
That's a good
thing.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So like I said, final thought, and then let's get you
Let's
to
see.
your next.
Final thought. I think my final thought is I do think it's always worth it to like revisit, especially if it's a great artist like Macca, to go ahead and revisit because great artists always deserve your second look.
Yes.
If you dismiss that, it might be you. It most likely is you. If it's a great artist and you're like that was sucked, you're probably wrong.
Oh, so I got to go
um,
listen to Princess Planet Earth now.
yeah, you got it exactly. Go listen to Planet Earth again, and you'll hear that country song differently. That's my favorite. Oh, and that has Mr. Goodnight on it too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, there's good stuff on there too. But I know it's always worth it. You might end up being right, like okay, they just missed on this, but it's when it's someone that you and that resonates with you usually, you
Mhm.
might and they just maybe did something different. It's worth it to go take that journey with them, and
Yeah.
say, okay, what is it that they're trying to do with their thing, and why, what is it about you that's resisting this? He's like, they should be sounding like this. Or is it, like what is it? What's uptight about you and the way you're receiving it?
Yeah. And that's the thing. I can, like I said, 17, that time of year. Yeah. Probably just other stuff that was going on. Maybe I wasn't centered enough to really appreciate it.
Right. I
Yeah.
think we've kind of found we were lacking these young teen boys, um, and it needed 40 needed 40 years to
40 years. Yeah.
just
A lot of years.
a lot of years, a lot of years. Cool, man. Thank you. I'm
All
sorry I got
right,
to
man.
run, but I'll
No
see you next
problem,
time.
man. All right, man. Peace.
Peace. Talk to you later.
All right. All right. So once again, special thank you to PC Munoz. He had to run, had some business to take care of, and do another appearance. So gonna kind of just wrap up with my final thoughts on Pipes of Peace. Like I said, we didn't get a chance to talk about side two, which featured another duet with Michael Jackson titled "The Man." But that was one. I didn't embrace it at the time. Like now, I embrace it as again another great composition. To me, this was something I think would have worked better. Like it has that sort of kind of late '60s, early '70s. I want to call it like pop, easy listening vibe to it. Not straight rock and roll, not straight funk, not straight soul or anything, but it just kind of has like that kind of Burt Bacharach type pop feel to it, which I can appreciate once again now. I can enjoy that. But, we were talking about average person. If you listen to a lot of ska, you can hear those ska influences in it. Like I said, my first thought went to this band called Madness. You might remember them from Our House. They did the cover of that in the 80s over here in America. But they're real big in the UK. But yeah, very into ska. So it's a good ska sound. And I don't know if, McCartney was thinking of that or trying to do that, but it has that kind of feel to it. Hey Hey, like I said, kind of a little groove instrumental. Tug of Peace, which is kind of Tug of War 2.0. So kind of maybe tying the two albums together, as this one being the sequel. Through Our Love is a conventional, I call it conventional McCartney big ballad, the thing that he's known for. One, again, when I was 17, didn't quite gravitate towards because, to me it wasn't better than Let It Be or Long and Winding Road or My Love or something like that. But having listened to the remaster, I appreciate it again. It turned out nice again, so I enjoyed that quite a bit. But what do you think? Like we were saying, give this album another listen, give it another chance. It may not be the big rocker or the it's a McCartney album through and through. And I think that's what we kind of know him, kind of to go in those directions sometimes. We appreciate the big ballads, we appreciate the hits, but this is his lane. He's, a Gemini like Prince, where, they don't stay in that same lane, and which is a good thing for an artist, to do that. So yeah, definitely urge you to give it another listen, give it another chance. As I did. In fact, I can't wait to dive back in. But let me know what you think. Leave me a comment and let me know your thoughts. And that's going to end this episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. If you are on Patreon, become a Patreon supporter. Get early access to this episode and future episodes as well, in addition to content exclusive to that channel and lots of perks too. So become a supporter at any tier that you wish. And until then, till next episode, create your day, create your life. Peace.